What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Sports Junkies Podcast. Man, we had an exciting week in college football. One thing I'll start off by saying is Oregon has moved from 12 to 4 in the AP polls. At this moment, I think this win over Ohio State was very important for Oregon. Now, one thing still scares me when we talk about their season is that there's those games that you just don't know if they're going to have a slow start or a slow game like they did against Fresno State. A lot of that's really left my mind, considering they just defeated Ohio State, and they had a great defensive game plan without Kayvon, Thibodeaux, without Justin Flo. They still showed up and got it done. They played a dominant game. Ohio State was able to move the ball pretty consistently, but Oregon stepped up when it was most important. They had a big fourth down stand against Cristobal in the back of the end zone. I mean, these guys were just prepared. And can we just talk about Verdell for a second? Because my man just came out and completely dominated for 4 quarters of football for 60 minutes. He just completely downloaded the Ohio State's defensive game plan and broke it. And we'll get to his stats in a moment, but I think this win right here, which I'm not gonna lie, man, I picked Ohio State to win this game. I think me and Kim picked Ohio State to win this game. We were wrong. I was wrong. It doesn't look like I'm gonna have that season where I'm A1 with the predictions. But I'll tell you one thing, man. That Oregon team I saw out there is the Oregon team I know they have the potential to be. Even last week after the whole Fresno State, I was like, look, man, don't go down on this Oregon team. It's week 1. Everybody really struggled, and we saw some of Oregon's best football. We saw partially their best football. I still think Oregon can improve. I still think there's a lot to be worked on with Oregon. And it's not really necessarily on their defensive side of the ball. It's really on their offense. And right now it seems like they got Verdell doing, 90% of the group project. They still need guys to step up. Anthony Brown, I still need to see him become more of a legitimate passer. I want to see him become even more dangerous using his legs, to open up the run game. And they could really formulate something nasty with Verdell looking as dangerous as he is. And then they got a quarterback who can scramble and hopefully potentially perfect his throwing. So they got something deadly that they could be cooking up here. And that's something I want everyone to keep an eye on. I think this win against Ohio State has pretty much gotten Oregon into the playoffs. It's that simple. If they can beat Ohio State and at Buckeye Stadium, then I don't really see a team looking to stand in their way. I mean, Stanford is a team you want to watch out for. I mean, we saw what they just did to USC, UCLA. Maybe not. I don't really think UCLA will make much noise, but definitely be on the lookout for that. And then Utah. And other than that, I think it's a pretty simple schedule for Oregon. I don't think any of these teams are going to be good enough to stop them. And I want to give a shout out to Cam, even though he's not here for this video, but he made a prediction and he said Oregon would make the playoffs. And now that they've beaten his whole prediction, is really riding on the fact that Oregon just defeated Ohio State, because now it kind of opens up those possibilities a lot more. Like I said, they just jumped from 12 to number 4 in the AP polls. I mean, beating Ohio State at home is a very important feat, and the defense just showed up and completely. Well, they didn't completely shut them down. Oregon was missing some of those important pieces, so they still showed up though. Big pick at the end of the game. Ohio State really just couldn't get it consistently going to where they were putting up points. Struggling a lot, and this, like I said, once again, this was without Kayvon, Thibodeaux, and I think that was one of the main reasons I thought Oregon didn't have a chance in this game, because I knew Oregon as a team is mainly is a defensive team. Their defense is going to be the guys that's going to have to really get them to where they need to be, and without Kayvon Thibodeaux and without Justin Flo, I did not think Oregon had a shot to win this game, and they definitely proved me wrong. Even in the fourth quarter, I still doubted that Oregon would win the game, and they proved me wrong again. But once again, man, just, slight stuff you want to improve on. They'll have Kayvon Thibodeaux back. They'll have Justin Flo back sooner or later. I don't know how long Kayvon Thibodeaux is supposed to be out, but adding him back to this defense is even dangerous. It's going to be okay if he doesn't play next week, because it's a free week almost. But then they'll play Arizona. That's also kind of like a free week, and then you want to have him back for Stanford, because I feel like that's when the schedule starts to kind of kick it into high gear a bit. You got Stanford, you got Cal. You never know what you're going to get from Cal. You got UCLA, team that beat upset LSU. Colorado, who just put up a good fight against Texas A&M, held Texas A&M to 10 points. They could have won that game. I wanted them to win that game, but They flopped last minute. Washington isn't a good team. They got beat by an FCS team. I expect Oregon to mop the floor with them. 40-point victory there. Washington State, that's simple. Utah is a team you want to be on the lookout for, and then Oregon State, they're going to continue to reign dominance in that rivalry there. We're not too worried about that. But Oregon, man, great job. Guys look good. They really had CJ Stroud on his heels, and one thing I'm thinking from last week, I'm like, CJ Stroud looks like a guy who's a bit uncomfortable. Like he doesn't look like he is. I think no. Let me rephrase that, because I think right now everyone's like, well, CJ Stroud isn't that good. I think the problem is that you've gone from a guy like Justin Fields to another quarterback, and I think a lot of the top teams in college football are about to see that. They're about to realize, like, hey, you don't have Trevor Lawerence, you don't have Justin Fields, two of the highest rated quarterback recruits of all time. I think Bama will be all right because they got Bryce Young, and he was a 5-star quarterback, and I think he'll fill a spot pretty easily. But one thing I'll say is that a lot of these top teams are really lost those top quarterbacks. A lot of teams lost those players. So you see teams like Georgia and Oregon who were dominating early. You see teams like Bama. Obviously, Bama's still going to be on top, but even then, I think Bama has some weaknesses, and this could be one of the years in college football where we don't see Clemson in the championship. We don't see Bama in the championship. I think Bama will make the playoffs regardless, because I don't see them really losing unless they lose a regular season game and then finds a way to lose in the SEC championship, which I'm pretty sure they'll be playing Georgia, because Georgia and Bama are on a different level. I think we could see Oregon potentially make the playoffs. Now, let's see how their offense improves over the course of the season. If their offense stays the way they are now, I don't think it'll work. And once again, CJ Verdell is that guy. But he's not going to be able to carry this team, especially into the playoffs when we're talking about top four, top other 3 teams in the nation. These guys are definitely going to prepare for this. These are coaches that are going to be great at game planning, and they have the depth to handle guys like CJ Verdell. Like Bama, the thing CJ Verdell does against Ohio State, it's not going to work against the defensive depth that Bama, defensive depth that Georgia. I know it won't work against Georgia. Being a Georgia fan, I know we're known for just shutting down running backs. I don't care how good your running back is, we're going to shut them down. I think Georgia has only allowed 1 rushing touchdown from a running back in the last 3 seasons. So that's something to keep an eye on. So I like CJ Verdell, and I think he's special. But one thing it's going to be a problem is, can Oregon continue to evolve the offense around Anthony Brown? And don't get me wrong, Anthony Brown didn't play a bad game at all. That's one thing I do not want to say. He didn't play a bad game. You win the game. You don't bring out bad performances. That's just not what you do. But CJ Verdell, man, 20 carries, 161 yards, man. Run left, that sweep to the outside, just disgusting, and it just couldn't be stopped. And for some reason, I don't know why Ryan Day wasn't trying to find a way to overcome. He's like, he didn't adjust to the same play that this team kept running against him. And then at the end of the game, where they kind of flipped it a bit, it was too late. They had already switched their game plan. It was over. And their offense just couldn't get going there at the end of the game. But Oregon is set for some success, man. They're set for some greatness, because they're going to get Kayvon Thibodeaux back. They're going to get Justin Flo back in the middle of the field. And I'm telling you, they could have used Kayvon Thibodeaux against Ohio State. I think if they had Kayvon Thibodeaux, it's potentially 42 to maybe 21, maybe 20, 17, 14, something like that. But I'm telling you, man, Oregon had the pass rush. It was struggling a bit. They weren't getting too much pressure. CJ Stroud did have time to throw the ball. CJ Stroud did have a pretty crazy game. 35-54, 484 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. So Oregon definitely needs Kayvon Thibodeaux back, because they weren't doing. They were getting sometimes pressure on them, but they weren't getting enough. And them being in the Pac-12, I'm not really worried about. Ohio State has one of the top offensive lines in the nation. We all know this, but when you play in the Pac-12, it's not like I don't know how dangerous O-lines are in the Pac-12. I know Stanford's usually known for having a good O-line, but man, Oregon, I think, has solidified their spot in the playoffs. Now they got to do what they're good at, and that is running the Pac-12, and they'll find themselves in the playoffs. And maybe they could win and make it back to the championship game, or we'll see what we get. But Oregon Ducks, a team I've been high on all off season. I'm continuing to be high on them. I see them making the playoffs now. I see them running through the Pac-12, and they're going to finish their season. They're going to finish their regular season 12-0, 13-0. Then they're going to face maybe Georgia in the playoffs, because I think if Oregon wins out, they'll probably finish the season maybe around round 3 or 2. So that means I think they'll probably end up playing Bama first round, or somehow they end up fourth. They'll end up playing Georgia. So we may see Oregon this year, and then see them, first game next season. So it's going to be interesting. Let's see what Oregon does, man. We'll continue talking about Oregon on the Sports Junkies podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe today to become a junkie. We're on the road to 200 subs, and I know we got a lot of Oregon fans here, so it's good to have you guys' support. You guys have completely turned the channel around, and hope you guys continue to do so. Until next time, guys, it's been your boy Kid. See you soon.